Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door.
'Tis some visitor tapping at my chamber door. Only this and nothing more.
Well, in The Raven, we begin with a narrator who's feeling sorry for himself. He's lost a woman named Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And he's starting to enjoy feeling sorry about himself. So he starts to read quaint and curious volumes of forgotten lore just to wallow in his misery.
You find out over the course of the poem that the man is grieving, that the man has had a number of sleepless bad nights, that he staring into the fire, or trying to escape in some way.
It's about this muse that comes in and inspires him, at the same time haunts him.
There's a lovely quality of just, this is what's happening right now, and I'm making sense of it as it's happening.
Nothing in the room really, except the tap, tap, tapping. Nothing changes appreciably. It's all going on in here. He drives himself crazy, basically.
And for most of the poem, for half the poem, there's no raven in it. It's just this guy inside of his own mind.
Truly, your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you.
Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more.
He literally builds suspense with words. And I can't emphasize how much I just find that unbelievable, that you can just take words that you and I use and put them together to create something like that.
I think the proper recitation of The Raven is not to make it all, ponderous and distraught from the very beginning. It gets that way.
This is a poem about anticipation, expectation. The story is what's going on outside the room. And finally the raven flies in the room. It's kind of a letdown. It's just a bird after all that. So he says, well, what's your name, bird? And it says, nevermore.
He's lost a love in some way or another and desires to be with her again, but is bleakly certain that will never happen.
Wretch,
I cried.
Thy God hath lent thee. By these angels he hath sent thee respite. Respite, and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff. Quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore.
Quoth the raven, nevermore.
There is sort of a metaphysical component, which is not surprising, given that was an obsession of Poe's, and you see echoes of that throughout his work.
When you're in pain, or when you're looking for some kind of an answer, everything is a symbol. Everything means something. Fortune cookies mean something. You're reading into everything.
And, the nostalgia, it has a powerful effect on people. Person no longer there, whether murdered or died or whatever.
Because you want the universe to talk to you and explain why you're in pain.
And at the time he was writing this, his wife was in the next room, coughing up blood, wasting away. She'd been suffering from tuberculosis for the past 3 years. It was a death sentence. They knew she wasn't going to live much longer. She actually died about 2 years after the poem was published.
When he asks the raven, will I ever be able to see my lost Lenore? This is a question he's asking himself, sort of the metaphysics of existence.
Prophet,
said I.
thing of evil. Prophet still. If bird or devil, were the tempter sent, or were the tempest tossed to the ashore, desolate, yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted. Tell me, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore.
Quoth the raven, nevermore.
Somebody's taught the raven to say the word nevermore. That's all it knows how to say. So if you know that's all it knows how to say, why do you keep asking it questions that you don't want to be answered with the word nevermore?
And I think that's what's happening in The Raven. This is a man who you find sees everything, senses on, feeling, watching shadows, noticing the curtains, cannot turn his mind off.
Trying to figure out his place in the greater sort of metaphysical world.
This guy's starting to come off as a little bit unbalanced because he knows what answer he's going to get. He is causing himself to have this answer. It's almost like he's talking to himself.
The solitary nature of being an artist lends itself to possibly, I don't use the word madness, but you're always listening just to the voice in your head.
Sometimes when you're convinced of a theory, all signs point to what you're convinced of. All signs point to you're never going to be happy again. You're never going to feel alive again.
And it's got that emotion of him longing for that, but it'll never be again.
He says, I know beauty by the way it makes me feel. He says, beauty is that which stirs the sensitive soul to tears. So beauty is linked to sadness, to sorrow, to melancholy.
This theme of the silent watcher, or reaffirming everything that you're secretly afraid of, I think that's what's going on in The Raven.